I'm back here in the building. Recession indicator. Yay! We barely got it. Hello, it is day one of LA Comic Con. I'm back here in the building. Recession indicator. I know I did say that I did not want to do this event again back in 2023. I'm here again for reasons which I will explain later, but I do need to continue prepping because I'm a little bit late. I did arrive a little bit later than I'd like to. I think it was like 30 minutes to 45 minutes later because I didn't know that there was day zero setup. I know in the past LA Comic Cons there was only day one setup, so I was a bit surprised, but gotta do what you gotta do. Had to wake up super early because it was hair wash day. And then I needed to get here, and since it does take me about 4 to 5 hours to set up, basically got here around 8:30, 8:40, and then con doesn't start till 1 p.m. So it's a long day. I know today is from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m., but I do have a Leve concert later, so very excited for that one. But gotta continue setting up. Finally finished setting up my entire 8-foot display. So this actually took me 3 hours, but I'm kind of surprised because it usually takes me about 4 to 5 hours, but I'm typically vlogging during that. But since I did minimal vlogging and did mostly time lapses, I was able to really secure everything within all of this. Did the usual setup for a self-serve display. If you remember from my GalCon video, I did do a self-serve display, but it was on a 6-foot table. And in this case, since it is 8 feet, we did have 2 extra feet of space and was able to fit everything. I do like how clean it looks. If anything, more pins, and I realized that this pretty much maxed out most of the pins that I had. In that case, I did have some space if I did want to have more self-serve stickers. I just don't feel like buying another set of acrylic displays, especially if I don't really see myself doing a lot of 8-foot displays in Artist Alley. If anything, I only have 3 to 4 8-foot Artist Alley displays, so I didn't see the need to have a 4th one, but we'll consider it in the future. But overall, I do like how it turned out. So con starts in less than 15 minutes. It is 12:43, and I am just frantically putting together little price tags for some of the pins. Let me grab one. Because I did have more space for more pins, I wanted to include some of the filler pins and the pins that probably wouldn't count under the $15. So in this case, I've been adding little price tags using some of the mini white stickers that I have and just manually writing it. And I did have to write a little post-it note. These are some of the ones I was just practicing on, but basically just saying that the pins with individual price items are not part of the 3 for $40 deal because I forgot to do that when I was setting up these pins. Doing that right now, though I will say I don't think it will be hectic once it's 1 p.m. because it is still a work day. And I don't think that my audience demographic is specifically LA Comic Con. I don't think it's the same as back in 2022. Yeah, I did do 2022. So while I do have very low expectations for this event, I still feel hectic just because I feel like I should just have everything down, and I don't really want to continue answering that the Otani pins are not part of the deal. Oh, also, I do have new Otani pins. Very excited. They look so cute. So basically, this isn't part of the deal only because these are 2 individual pins, and to me, the pricing makes sense because for the Otani pin, that would typically be $15 for most of my pins, plus the Deco pin, Decoy enamel pin. He is a filler pin, about 0.5 inches, so usually my filler pins are $5 each, and then the pin is $15, so 15 plus 5, $20. It turned out so cute. He is debuting in this convention, though, I don't know. I feel like he'll do decently well. Oh, I dropped him. Though I know Tawny did super well during AX because we're in Los Angeles. But in this case, maybe he'll do well. I do feel like LA Comic Con is still a general enough crowd, and with the Dodgers actually becoming, are they like the West? Oh yeah, they're the NL West champs. Sorry, I don't know anything about baseball. I just know Otani. I'm just a big Otani fan. So maybe people will buy the Otani stickers, but who knows? Or the Otani pins. If anything, this convention was mostly an opportunity for me to practice an 8-foot self-serve display so that it's ready for any future events where I have an 8-foot table and someone is proxying for me. I do have a lot of things that I'm not the biggest fan of, which I probably brought up at least when I was going into Kentia Hall as well as setting up, but I'm just feeling frazzled and I don't think any of my thoughts are very coherent, to say the least, but I will continue on with my task. So it's 1:20. Technically, con started 20 minutes ago. However, very slow start as I assumed it would be. So let's talk about LA Comic Con. If you are an OG viewer, you know that I did LA Comic Con back in 2022 and 2023. So I've done it 2 times as an artist alley vendor. 2022 was my best one. Generally don't remember how much I made. I would have to check my graphs. However, I do remember that one being the most busy because when I looked back on footage where you can see the entire South Hall lobby, it was completely full, especially on Saturday where the crowd basically reached the entrance. Versus 2023, a lot less people. Probably half of the crowd was filled. And in that point, I was also burnt out because during that time period, LACC was in December. And that was the last weekend of my work weekend where I was basically doing, and that was the last weekend of my work weekend where I had just come back from Japan. I went straight into vending AX Chibi, flew to New York for ANYC where I just went as an attendee, but still work related because it was for research purposes, and then came back here for LA Comic Con. So for me, that was a lot because I didn't even get a chance to adapt to the time difference here and then adjust again with New York's time difference and then come back here and each weekend was work. It was a lot. So naturally at that time, I just thought like, you know what, I don't want to do LACC again, which is why I didn't do it last year. However, it is hard to get into cons now, as you can see. Maybe you've experienced it. I know I have. And right now I am not in a position to be picky, especially since this is my full-time job. If I don't do a convention, that is income that is not being generated. And at least for myself, LA Comic Con is one of my local conventions. I am from the Los Angeles area, so my costs are practically, I wouldn't say nothing, but in comparison to a lot of other conventions that I do, practically nothing because I at least get to sleep in my own bed and my cost is for the table and food plus parking, which as you know, LACC parking's not the best. It's $32 each day, so you're already racking up almost $100 on a 3-day con weekend. But even then, it is still drastically a lot less than $1,000, which as a full-time artist, usually that's the typical cost for a con weekend. And typically it's more, especially if it is a travel con. I do want to talk about some ways you can save money if you want to vend an artist alley, because I don't know where people are getting the notion that this is not an expensive type of career. And of course, this is a business. While we are artists, we're also business people, and of course you have to spend money to make money. This isn't easy by any means, and so I will talk about a few tips on how to try to cut costs whenever possible. All that is to say, what was the point of this whole clip? For this year, my expectations are very, 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 very low, especially given with 2025's current revenue pattern being on the lower end. Again, as I've said in every single vlog, it's because of the economy. Not a lot of people have as much disposable income, so naturally people are not going to spend as much. But besides those two things, I also have noticed that within my business, I'm not making as much product as I used to. Naturally, with me starting the business, I had a bit of an exponential growth. Oh, hi. Oh, no, it's okay. You're good. You're good. Exactly 15 and you're all set. Thank you so much. Good luck this weekend. Honestly, same. I'm not expecting a lot with this con. Yeah. I would say it's decent for locals. For your products, like, is it mostly like Western art or is it anime? Yeah, like for this con, I would say you do a lot better if it's mostly Western. I think I'm saved because I have the shonen, like popular anime. Yeah. But even then, I tend to do better at anime cons just because I think the crowd is mostly into like Western work. Oh yes, thank you. I would love anything, honestly. It's super cute. Thank you so much, Chelsea. Chelsea came by and gave some stickers. It's so cute. So cute. Thank you. Low-key forgot what I was saying earlier. However, so honestly with this event, my goal is to profit even just a little bit. I do think I will profit. Granted, the costs were just very low, and with the amount of items, I think it'll be fine. Yeah, even just profiting a little bit would be great. So at least I'm not just breaking even at this point. I know for a lot of people, breaking even is the goal, and I do think that it makes sense depending on what your goal is. However, in my case, because this is my full-time job, if I don't profit at an event. There's no income coming in. So in my case, I do need to make some money. I also am going to Leve's concert, and I think that's also a good reason why I did want to vend here. It just worked out. Leve does have 2 shows at the previously known Staples Center, but now it's the Crypto Arena, and I am going today. So very excited, and obviously it wouldn't have worked out if I was going to the SJ Made event. But since the LA Convention Center is literally across the street from Crypto Arena, I'm able to save on parking, but also go to a concert. So very exciting. As you may or may not know, I have a very addictive personality, and my current addiction is connections. And if you're not familiar with it, it is the New York Times Connections game, where essentially you just have to group 4 words out of 16 words that have some kind of common thread. These are today's words. Let's see if I can figure this out. It took some time, but we did it. Yay! We did it. We did today's. Perfect. I love that. Now we'll do Wordle. As you can see the state of this convention right now based on the games that I have to play. I don't have to play them, but it is something I look forward to every day. Okay, today's Wordle was pretty difficult, at least for myself, but we made it. We barely got it. It's crazy. It's been a few hours now. It is 3:28, and to distract myself from my crippling disappointment in this convention, sorry, very emotionally charged statement, I got food. Thank you, Henry and Goosey Pins, for the food. I was not expecting this. When they were like, oh, we'll give you a snack, I was expecting some granola bags, but this is very generous, so thank you. I was starving. I have not eaten today, and the day is almost over. I've only had a matcha latte, which I made from home, because one way to try to save money for conventions is bringing your own food, because convention food can be expensive. Buying coffee at the convention or even outside can be pretty pricey. In Los Angeles, it's usually $5 to $7, depending on how fancy the drink is. And in my case, because I still have an F-ton of matcha tins from Japan, I think I still have 10 more, so I think it'll last me for the rest of the year. I will say that I have heard that Fridays are typically slow for LA Comic Con. I don't remember how it went the past couple of years, to be honest. But I will say, even though we are across the autograph opportunities and the photo ops, I don't think they come in until tomorrow, which is probably why not a lot of people are here. Apparently some artists actually don't come in until Saturday and Sunday. At this point, I'm just looking forward to the Leve concert and getting my concert icy and nachos delivery. I was like, is he even here? I was like, oh, he's hidden. Yay! It is now 6:22, and I wanted to give some commentary before I go to the Leve concert. I will say it did pick up very little. However, I would say that this is very much on the lower end in terms of sales from what I'm used to in comparison to a lot of other anime conventions or even comic conventions, to say the least. So it doesn't look very good, at least for day 1 or Friday numbers. However, I did also hear that Friday tends to be pretty slow. I would hope that tomorrow is a little bit more busy, since a lot of the main autographs with the major celebrities are happening in Cantia Hall. Doesn't necessarily mean it'll be successful, because a lot of people are spending hundreds of dollars on these autographs and might not have as much money for the artist alley itself, but we will see, and I will let you know tomorrow. In my mind, I'm working overtime. Hello, it is day 1 of LA Comic Con. It is 10:52 in the morning. Again, not very high expectations for the rest of the day. I will say for the morning, since we are in the autograph hall, there are a lot of people in this hall, but they're in line for autographs. They're not necessarily walking around the convention. But it is a little bit more busy compared to yesterday. I know even the parking situation was actually pretty rough. I will say, if you're trying to park for the LA Convention Center and not just for LA Comic Con in general, there are different parking options. The most convenient one is the ones adjacent to the convention center, whether that's South Hall parking or West Hall parking, which is about $32. It used to be $30 a couple years ago, but unfortunately they did increase it. I know some other people who are more willing to walk if it's 5-10 minute walk, usually get a lot more affordable parking. I'm just not super familiar with the other parking structures in the area, but if you go on the Discord, a lot of people have listed their personal favorites in more affordable parking if you don't mind walking. However, I prefer the convenience, and especially if I am walking alone at night or if I'm with another person, I would prefer not to walk alone at night in LA, so I'm willing to pay the $32 in that case. We did get our Dutch Bros. Very exciting. You know I love my picture perfect. Dutch Bros, please sponsor me. I love you. Also got some snacks from this couple. They're so sweet. They are the R2D2 couple, and they gave me some snacks. So sweet, thank you. I know they came by yesterday, so I appreciate the snack bag. Thank you so much. Hope your con is going really well this weekend. I'm also going to be super hydrated. I have my large hydro flask. I think this one is 32 ounces. Yeah. I will say with the LA Convention Center, which I do appreciate, is that they have water fountains and they have the little spout that does refill your water or is made to refill your water. So you can bring a water bottle and just hydrate there. Definitely one of the tips for how to save money when vending in Artist Alley is just to bring your own beverages when you can. Bring your own food because food here can be pricey as well as water. Very expensive. While my expectations are very low for this event because yesterday was not very good in terms of numbers, honestly might be worse than 626OC, which is just kind of crazy. Still have hope in it. So praying that Saturday is a little bit better. So it's only been a little less than an hour since my last update, and I can already safely say that it's a little bit better than yesterday. I will say it's a bit slower than what I'm used to at other conventions. But honestly, at this point, it being better than yesterday is all I can ask for. So very grateful. Thank you to everyone who has stopped by. Honestly, a good amount of people who bought from me or people from social media or other vendors who have watched my content. So thank you so much. You are saving my ass right now. So I really appreciate the sales because otherwise I don't know what I'd do. Fingers crossed that it goes at this rate because I would be very happy actually if it went at this sales rate. Will that be cash, card, or Venmo?
Yeah.
Cash? That'll be 25, please.
And if we don't get the one we want, we'll probably have to get a different one.
Oh. Which one are you looking for?
She just
Listen,
Oh,
you not.
Oh, shit. Yeah, RIP. All right, out of 25, you're all set. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, so you got it.
Yeah.
Yay! Oh, yay! I'm so close.
So the first
Your luck is amazing, actually. Thank you. I'm glad you got what you wanted. Right now, I am adding more branding to my glassine bags because I get my glassine bags blank. Where do I get these from? I think clearbags.com, and they're the eco-friendly ones. And then I usually just add on these mini stickers so it has my logo on there, and then I usually put a business card inside. Hello. So it looks like that. I am looking into potentially printing out custom ones, but right now these are just a bit more cost effective, and I don't mind having them like this because I do also use these for my online orders, but I just don't put the sticker on there. But we'll see. Something to think about. And you don't have to invest in a branded tote bag because those bags I do outsource. You can also look into either stamping a brown bag, which is what I used to do. I also used to outsource these, which is what I'm trying to use up because this is my old logo, but I would outsource the brown paper bag and then they would print on it. But in my case before, I would just order a bunch of brown paper bags and then I had a large stamp to put my logo on there. And that one's a more affordable option if you don't want to invest like $1,000 or so. I forgot how much I paid for the tote bags, but I believe the minimum order quantity was about 1,000. So you can guess that it's quite expensive to outsource them. And usually 1,000 tote bags lasts me about 1.5 years or so. I don't remember if I brought this up, but there's been a difference in the Artist Alley layout for LA Comic Con compared to the 2 years that I did this event. So back in 2022 and 2023, Artist Alley was in the same exhibit hall as the exhibitors, so we were just on the west portion of South Hall, which is upstairs. If you've been to Anime Expo, you know that it's the part where all the exhibitor booths are. Starting this year, they split Artist Alley into 2 different places. First one is in Kentia Hall, where Anime Expo's Artist Alley is, and where I currently am at. And then the second part is in West Hall, with the other anime themed exhibits. Why are we in different spots? From my understanding and what I've heard, allegedly, if you're following that type of news, you know that AX was moving some booths around because the convention center is doing renovations for the Los Angeles Olympics that is happening in a couple years. So they're currently doing that now, which is why they had to move the artist alley to different spots. Apparently, it's more busy in West Hall because there's just more people and they don't know that there's artist alley here. There's not much signage in the Cantia Hall area. Granted, there are people because of autographs, but I feel like a lot of the people who are done with autographs just want to go out. I don't think they're necessarily walking around artist alley, so it is busy, but not necessarily in the artist side. Versus West Hall, they have a large signage. Apparently it's also busy, but just not as many buyers as well, but seems to be a bit more busy on the West Hall side. So far it's been okay. Granted, I had pretty low expectations, and if I'm comparing it to yesterday, it's a lot better. So I'm not mad here, but definitely on the slower end, especially since I'm also in the lucky aisle with pillars, so that's great. Obviously not lucky, I just need to clarify that. I'm being sarcastic, it's not lucky at all. Funnily enough, I finally remember what I wanted to talk about a few hours ago. But essentially, it is interesting seeing a convention basically reaffirm my belief about another convention. So if you've watched my Anime Riverside or Anime Pasadena vlogs, you know that I always say that those anime conventions, while they are anime themed, as in the name, it feels like a comic convention that just has some anime branding, or that it's a bit more bro-y compared to a lot of other anime cons like Anime Impulse, Anime Los Angeles, and so on. And basically what confirmed it is this convention, because the number of people, especially yesterday, who I saw walking around with an Anime Pasadena or Anime Riverside tote bag is a lot, or at least a lot more than a lot of other conventions that I've been to. So that just reaffirmed that the audience is overlapping for the most part. To save money for con, I packed some food, which is basically just quinoa and Spam that I fried this morning. I don't know if it's still warm. I mean, oh, it's still warm. It smells good. Very simple food. Honestly, when it comes to packing food, I usually don't want it to be messy, just because if I need to do transactions and I don't have a helper today, easy to eat. Now that it is a bit later in the day, it is 2:41, so I would say a little more than 4 hours until con ends. I will say it did pick up a little bit compared to earlier today. The pins definitely saved my butt this weekend, especially the Demon Slayer ones, because obviously the new Demon Slayer movie came out a couple weeks ago. So the hype is still there, because for a long time, Demon Slayer has not been selling for me because I've just had it for years at this point. We did sell out of a good amount of them, like the more popular Demon Slayer characters, but also I will say I do feel like Anime Expo has been a bit of a feeder for this show because it is in the same convention center. I did get a few comments on how people have seen me at AX, or they have the opportunity now to shop since it was probably busy during AX this year, or they just didn't know where my table was because I was all the way in the back with 900 plus artists, which makes sense since I feel like some people who might go to AX, if they like this convention or are near this convention and are local to the LA area, you would probably go to this event as well. I'm still not super convinced to do this event again in the future, but we'll see. Our food looks so good. Oh my gosh. Good morning. It is the last day of LA Comic Con. It is day 3. And it is currently 10:02 in the morning. Con already started about 30 minutes ago. I would say it's a slow start, but luckily we have made a sale, and surprise, surprise, it is with enamel pin. So thank you so much for your support if you did come by. Just some quick information about LA Comic Con. For an Artist Alley table, I paid $463 and some cents. I don't remember. I believe it is a little bit more affordable if you decide to pay with check. However, I value convenience, so I paid with card. You are given an 8-foot table and 2 chairs, as well as 2 badges. The only issue is that you don't know if you will be in Cantia Hall or in West Hall. You don't really have a choice in the matter. You're basically assigned your table location. I believe last year it was split between South Hall and West Hall, compared to my first 2 years in 2022 and 2023, where we were all in South Hall. There is parking in the area. I would say the parking lot closest to Cantia Hall, which is South Hall parking, is $32 $32 each day. During setup day, it is a little bit cheaper with $27. So if you're going to set up the day before, 27 plus $32 three times, it adds up. And that's only if you're one car. There are more affordable parking options. I'm just not super familiar with it. I believe if you're willing to walk 7-8 minutes away, there's some parking spots that are $13, $20. I believe there's one parking spot, I don't know where and in which parking lot, but apparently it's $80. And to me, that's insane. Like, to pay $80 in one day is just crazy. Like, not like most people don't even, like, some people don't even get paid $80 in a day, but I digress. Honestly, like, just a crazy amount to pay for parking. If you didn't know already, I also stream on Twitch. I usually stream once a week, typically Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday around 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. And I usually stream convention pin prep, fun things with other artist alley friends, as well as working on upcoming designs and previews of stamp rally work. If you're interested in joining one of my streams, consider following me on Twitch at Mualcaina, and I hope to see you at the next stream. I will say though, 2022 and 2023, they were both in December. However, this time, as well as last year, it was in the fall months. So I believe last year was in October, and then this year it was in September. I did hear that it did get a little bit worse once it was moved into the fall months. Apparently next year it will be in December, so maybe it might be better because December was pretty good since it did capture a lot of people who wanted to make some last minute holiday sales. However, personally, I can always change my mind. Please don't hold me accountable for this, but I personally don't see myself doing this event again as someone who primarily sells pins, stickers, Ita bags, and mostly anime and kawaii themed merch. Obviously, and I have to give this discretion because if you sell comics, if you sell Western art, if you sell products that appeal to this very specific demographic, which is mostly Western art and mainstream pop culture, you might do decently. I wouldn't say you'll do well, but you could make decent money here. Also, this is dependent on the economy. Of course, I already had feeling that I would not do as well as 2023 because the economy is not as good as back then. But personally, I would not recommend this for most people, especially if you're flying. There were a few people who said they were flying to this convention, and to them, I feel for you. I'm so sorry. Even if you were driving in from NorCal, I personally would not recommend vending here. It is a fun convention, I will say. Lots of fun cosplays. The attendees are kind and nice. While I won't completely say that you shouldn't do LA Comic Con, because I do feel like this event might work for certain types of artists because, again, not everything is about financials. Obviously, you do want to make your expenses back, but there are a lot of other opportunities to network with people in the industry. I know they also have Marvel portfolio reviews. And of course, you can see your favorite celebrities, especially if you're into the mainstream Western comic scene. However, in my case, because making money is my goal, this is my full-time job, I personally don't see a lot of return on investment with this convention, especially when I have a lot of other conventions lined up, especially in the Los Angeles area. Or if you do want an opportunity to network with other artists, share the news about a comic that you published, this con might be for you. It's just not for me. If you didn't know already, I am also on Patreon. I post a lot of behind the scenes work, sneak peeks of upcoming designs and freebies, as well as some reviews of my convention experience and past artist alleys. So if you're interested in supporting me and my channel, consider supporting me on Patreon. It has picked up a little bit, but I will just say that the con does feel a bit more busy. It's just not as many spending in this case. It is currently 11:54, and I just finished today's connections in Wordle, so luckily got both of them, though they were a little bit more difficult today. I'm also currently working on the TwitchCon promo, so very excited. That will go up in a couple weeks because my next con is in October, and that's in a few weeks, so working very hard on that one. I don't really know what to expect since it'll be my first TwitchCon, but I have heard good things about that convention, so definitely gonna try to go on all the stops for that one. So very excited. I will say though, being here at LA Comic Con, it has the same feeling as GalCon San Jose, where if it wasn't for the very kind attendees and very kind vendors that I've been meeting, honestly, I would be very depressed right now. Hyperbole, of course. Because everyone's so nice. So many kind attendees who have seen me at other conventions or watch the videos, follow me on socials, and same thing with other vendors. Very, very kind. It's also interesting seeing how for a lot of people, especially if they just started vending at conventions, this is one of their first big cons. So the attendees and the other vendors made it worth it. Financially, we're okay, but you know, it is what it is. We got some gifts. Look at this beautiful sticker sheet. It's so cute. I like how it's strawberry spooky. Very cute. And I didn't know they gave us stickers in the back. Thank you so much. This is Skelemon Bones. I also didn't get your business card, but look at these goodies. This is so cool. I do like that this is a s'mores campground theme because I love s'mores. And apparently these are reusable towels. And I do like these cozies. Apparently, they showed me how to use it. If you have a really hot bowl of soup, you can put the bowl in here so you can carry it around and not burn yourself. Quite nice. I do like it. Thank you so much for dropping these off. Now that you know how my experience went at LA Comic Con with a giant self-serve display, if you're interested in seeing how my self-serve display did at another comic convention, watch this video here to see my experience at GalCon San Jose, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!